What's going on, workforce? Brian here, and today I want to handle, a sensitive topic, and that's the conversation about free-to-play in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, we've talked about this a bit here and there over the life of this channel, which hasn't actually been that long, but I wanted to bring this up because there was an interview that Yoshi-P gave, and one of the, bullet points was that he said that if 80 or 90% of the active player base wants this game to go free-to-play, they'd consider it. And I didn't necessarily want to weigh in on that topic just at that time because I wanted to weigh in on a different topic, and that's going to be the focus of this video. Rather than free-to-play versus subscription, I don't want that to be the debate or the question, but rather the question being, is there a better way? Is there a better model that Final Fantasy XIV can use? And if so, what does that even look like? But with that, let's go ahead and dive in and let's talk about it. So is there a better subscription model that Final Fantasy XIV could be taking advantage of but currently is not? I think that's the question that should be debated. So today I'm going to share some thoughts that I have on the subject, but I'd love to know yours, whether they're your ideas on anything that I talk about here or your own ideas that maybe you've had and you've been maybe afraid to share in an open public forum because of obviously the free-to-play versus subscription debate that kind of brings out sometimes the worst in us. To start, I enjoy subscription-based games. I think they bring a lot of strengths to the game itself. Things like it kind of puts everybody on an even playing field. It helps the developer schedule their time, money, and resources appropriately so we get more consistent and quality type of updates, along with the servers and keeping them up and running, etc. The type of content that we get isn't necessarily focused in on trying to get us to open up our wallets, because a free-to-play game is still a business model after all, and the goal is to make money. Otherwise, you're not going to hear about that game after a certain period of time. The other thing is it also endears the player to the world. If we're spending money, whether just to buy the game and then on a subscription or just to buy the game just outright, we've already made some kind of investment. We have, for lack of a better phrase, we have skin in the game. There's less incentive for me, especially having been subscribed to this game for over 4 years now, to be a complete jerk in game. It goes against, I think, who I am as a person and my character, but there's also this investment that I've made in my time in this game, and I don't want to risk that. And so that by putting money down, you're essentially, taking on some of that risk yourself. So you're saying, hey, I've already put money in. And that's one of the reasons why, and from a business perspective, it's one of the things that actually helps with your product and the vision of it. If it's free, people tend to treat free things poorly, as opposed to if something costs money, they're going to usually take better care of it because they know what the value of it is. They have that idea of that value of the time that they had to put in to afford the product that they are now purchasing. And it's on that note that I think the game then helps keep out the riffraff that kind of causes issues. Players who just want to come in and troll, and there's no risk or any kind of worry that their actions really can follow them anywhere because they can just come be a jerk, they get banned, they go create a new email, and now they're back, and then they're continuing that process. So again, it's my opinion that I actually am a fan of the subscription-based model because, again, that puts everybody on that even playing field. That is a huge thing for me. I think that we all get the same updates. We can all do the same content. We don't run into the issue of we can't play together because I spent $15 this month and you haven't. And thus you can go sit on the sidelines while we go have fun, and then you're kind of feeling pressured, or we're feeling bad and we're not. It just that goes the way. And so when you look in a party finder right now, you do not see messages like must have purchased player pack A or something like that. And hopefully we'll never ever get to that model. But besides from just trying to keep out players who just want to cause trouble, besides just wanting to serve kind of the current market as it exists today, I think that there is another market that is being underserved, and they really don't have a voice or kind of a dog in this fight. And the reasons they are currently kept away could be for a variety of them. Personally, I know a few players who cannot subscribe to this game because their job in the military doesn't allow them to have kind of that time where they could go be on a ship for, the next 6 months, and then they could be back for 3-4 weeks or a month at a time, etc. And that weird schedule for them and their perspective means that there's, financially it doesn't make sense for them to subscribe to a game that they might be able to play for 2 days every couple of months. Now, those are some extreme examples of different, time restrictions based off of, life decisions and career choices. And I don't want those to overshadow any, other kind of type of player that there could be. Because I also kind of see kind of the argument against players like that as well. They don't have that kind of time. They're not going to enjoy this type of game. But I know whenever they do the free trials, the way that players can jump into Final Fantasy XIV and play, for free for a couple of days, they're usually some of the first to be on and play and try to progress themselves further in the story. They're never going to be endgame raiders, and they accept that. But they actually enjoy the story of this game, and they enjoy their time that they get to spend running a dungeon or two. They really like that. They like the game, but it's not going to fit their lifestyle. But they're not going to ever be kind of that endgame raider, and that's kind of the market that I think is being missed. Now, what kind of market, what the value of that market is, that in and of itself is a whole other topic for another video. But I want to kind of focus in on the player who enjoys these kind of games. They want to play. Yeah, they're never going to really be the end game, but they, for whatever reason, looking at the subscription, it's, something that doesn't either make sense or it's kind of this barrier they have to try to get over. And the free trial that Final Fantasy XIV has helps to solve some of that. But I'm going to focus in on an idea that I've had for a while, and it actually is an idea that comes from Square Enix itself, because they've done something like this already in a game that we don't have here in North America. Now, buy-to-play is also a model that is talked about usually whenever these two topics, free-to-play versus subscription. And I'm actually not advocating for a buy-to-play model. But I want to take a look at Dragon Quest X. This is a game that has a subscription, and it's based right now just solely in Japanese. And with this game, they have what they call it kind of a kid's hour, a kid's time, and the 2 hours each day. There's no subscription. They remove that subscription requirement and allow, I guess what they call kids play. They don't restrict it based off of, there's no like, hey, you have to verify you're a kid or anything. It's just during a certain part of the day where they feel that they've determined that it works, that you don't need to be subscribed. You can kind of play for that time period. And it's that I want to build off of. It's that the game can actually be a subscription-based game, but also at the same time not necessarily require a subscription for some of the content. Now, I don't, maybe that's the right model. Maybe that it's a certain period of the day that people can play, but I'm not actually advocating for that. I'm advocating, again, for another hybrid, taking that idea and kind of spinning it into kind of my own perspective here. So this is, and I'm going to try my best to articulate it. At the time of editing, I'm going to see if I can also put kind of a graphic so you could see how this looks. But I think that right now we're in Stormblood, so we're in 4.0. And at some point we'll be in 5.0 and 6.0 and beyond. We also have what they sell as called the base game. And that lets you get all the way up to like 2.55. That's the ARR storyline. That's level 50 cap. There's a lot of content right there. And I think a lot of this game opens up at level 50. There's a lot of things to do and experience at level 50, and it's kind of overwhelming when you think about it. When you're always running the latest dungeon, you forget about like the 36 or 42 or however many that there are. See, without looking it up, I couldn't tell you, but there's a lot of content to be run, and it's here kind of where I think that the player would have to obviously purchase the game, so they've already bought the game. So let's go ahead and take you and me, for example. Let's say my subscription expired. And instead of not being able to log into the game would still allow me to log in, right? So I own Stormblood. But what happens when I'm not subscribed to the game? Well, I can now participate in anything level 50 and below. So that kind of patch 2.55 and earlier, that content is open and accessible to me. To keep it fair, to kind of help try to battle the real money traders, the people who are trying to sell in-game currencies and things like that, because If they only have to buy the game and then they can just farm up stuff, then obviously we're gonna have economy issues and things like that. So maybe that I can access, the base game, level 50 and earlier, but I can't trade and I can't sell things on the market. So I wouldn't have access to retainers. Like we can you can kind of think of how you can restrict some of those options so that you're not sitting here and trying to take advantage of a situation, and thus making it unfair to other players. And I'm sure there would need to be tweaks and things that they were, checking on it, but I could still log in. I could still chat with my free company. I could still chat with my link shells and communicate with that and still take part in any kind of activity if it's level 15 below. So like a leveling roulette, a 50-60 roulette. In this case, you'd only be able to access the 50 content in those dungeons, but being able to kind of play and participate and have some fun with that. Whatever reason my subscription expired would be my reason in and of itself, but I don't then get cut off from the community within the game, and so that there's a way that I can also look and see and talk to people and talk about those updates that are going on, so that there's a greater chance, in my opinion, that I would maybe become a resubscriber whenever whatever the situation was changed. This way, because right now you have the free trial, and then you can be subscribed to the game. You're not subscribed, excuse me, but you can play the game without a subscription up to level 35 forever. And then if somebody goes and buys the game, they currently can't do that. They have to subscribe or they're not. That's the two types of accounts. Still, I think that if I could play, you could play the level 50 stuff. Like even a new player who might be scared of a subscription can play and experience the entirety of the 2.0 storyline and experience the game at level 50. And at that point, you decide if they want to subscribe and continue on with that. And that's kind of where the whole model lives, is that for Heaven's Word, for 3.0 and for 4.0 content, you would have to be subscribed. There's no other way about that. Now, when 5.0 comes out, maybe 5.0 and 4.0, you have to be subscribed to the game. But then they open up 3.0 that if you've got that and you have the expansion purchased, you can continue on your story and play that way. Again, being able to chat with people and also, being and also being able to run that content at that level, that level cap below, and then everything above wouldn't work. So again, like my example, Stormblood. So now I'm level, 50. Well, I can't get to level 51 or 52. There's no way that I can get experience for any job at that. So if I'm playing a level 60 job, because of my subscription, I still can't gain experience on that job, and I can't access any level 60 zones, etc. And then as that goes on, that base game continues to grow, but it would always be, 2 or even 3, content expansions behind. But you can still communicate with those players. You're still participating in that content and getting to experience the rich story and world of this game. I'm sure there's other disadvantages to this model outside of, just the worrying about RMT trying to take advantage of this process. Like one idea that came to mind was they could just go farm and farm and farm and farm and sub, and then all of a sudden they could flood the market and kind of disrupt things of that nature. And, obviously we'd want to look at in ways that we could try to counteract that. But that's what the real point of this video is that is there a better way forward? Is there a better subscription model that kind of takes the strengths of the subscription as well as the strengths of kind of the buy to play and be able to make the game more accessible to a wider range of players who, and sometimes usually wider range people always kind of think less skilled or less interested. And that I don't equate that as a 1-to-1. Sure, there's going to be players who, aren't as interested as, the hardcore raider in this case. But I still think there's that middle ground. And that's just namely from my personal experience. I experience those players who enjoy this game, but at the same time, it does not make a justifiable sense to be able to say, subscribed. And these are even people that I know that don't subscribe to Netflix and things like that because they're not able to take advantage of that service and that time. It's just it's a matter of how much time you can spend and the justification of that cost. Chris talks about this a lot when he talks about his justification to dollars spent. If he buys a $60 game, he wants to get 60 hours of value out of that game. Otherwise, he feels that there's kind of some net loss here. So when you think of paying like, $15 a month, you want like at least 15 hours, and sometimes you don't have that. So this game obviously, requires an investment in time because, it's an MMO. And I don't think we should try to tailor it. And this argument isn't to tailor the game for an entire other player base, but it's a way of trying to open up the game to help introduce players who maybe haven't experienced it or can't on a consistent basis to be able to come in and enjoy that. Players who maybe are in their level 40s or even haven't cleared the base storyline and that content, and be able to have them come back and clear it and finish this game out just because they purchased it, and then at the same time maybe incentivize them and excite them towards the expansions, to becoming a subscriber and to committing more time with the community. But those are just my thoughts. I mean, this is a complex topic, and so I recognize that. I'd love to know your thoughts on it, like whether this idea is far-fetched. What's the business disadvantages that this could bring to Square Enix? I'd love to know your opinion, your thoughts on this, or if you have your own idea of how we can build a better system together, and let's have that conversation, and let's see what we can come up with. I love speculation. I love business speculation. I love the idea around these games, and you guys have just educated me and then also taught me so much already with some of your ideas. Some things like, it's amazing what when it's kind of like this kind of source with the whole community to get and what ideas there are. And sometimes I find that those great ideas aren't shared because you're afraid that they're going to get shot down. So all I ask is in the comments, guys, just be respectful for one another. We might not always agree on it, but let's have that conversation and maybe we can find something better. But for Work to Game, my name's Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. I do hope to see you in my next. But until then, I hope you have a fantastic week and a great weekend. Take care.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Brian, do you think there's anywhere they could catch us in the meantime?
Right now, Chris, we're probably on Twitch. If it's probably in the afternoon, it could be you. Sometimes you see my face. And we also found this random guy, named Kevin on the street somewhere.
I accidentally left my password written on the side of my car.
Oh man, that was really a big mistake. But guys, we really appreciate it if you guys hit the link in the description below for our Twitch page. We'd love to see you over there. And you can even subscribe to us over on Twitch.
If you're Amazon Prime, that could even be free.
Oh my gosh, what a deal.
Well, cool. Well, thanks guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.